Johnny Dawkins be fired? Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Charge On. As always, I'm your host, Sean Green. Before we get into the episode, a quick word from our sponsors, BetOnline. BetOnline remains your number one source for all your sports betting this season. Everything from NFL playoffs to pro and college basketball, UFC, MMA, and more. You'll always find the latest odds, team matchup info, player news, and game trends at BetOnline. With live betting options, free contests, and live scores for almost any sport or game imaginable. BetOnline is truly the fastest and easiest way to bet all your favorite leagues and events. Head to betonline.ag to join and receive your 50% welcome bonus with your first deposit. Make sure to use promo code BELIEVE to receive your rewards. That's BLEAV to receive your rewards. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, guys. Again, just want to give a huge shout out to everybody that tuned into our last episode. Really means a lot to us. It really blew up with the Big 12, Pac-12 stuff. And there's more coming. I mean, there were news. I contemplated talking about the news that kind of has come out the last couple of days where, Apple has gotten into the mix a little bit. But some of the rumors out there is that each school would only make about $18 million. So there's a lot more information to come out. There's some rumors that the schools are saying if they don't get a deal by April, they're bouncing. But as the weeks progress, we will talk more about that. And that'll probably be a topic on this show probably every week up until something crazy happens. But not much UCF football news. So we've got, this main thing that we're talking about today, which is Johnny Dawkins. But UCF sports have kind of taken a little bit of a dip. Our softball team has been losing a little bit. They're going to be fine. But they've lost a couple early games. UCF baseball started off 3 wins against Sierra. And then they lost to FAU in their fourth game. And then our men's basketball team, Johnny Dawkins and the team. I mean, this is a very interesting story. And this, first of all, give your thoughts down below. Again, we don't usually talk basketball. It's mainly football. So, do what you will with this episode. But I think it was very important because I'm recording this on Thursday, and last night UCF lost to USF for the second time this season. First time in 8 home games against USF that UCF has lost. Now, the social media presence online, it was very obvious what everybody wanted to happen. Everybody wanted Johnny Dawkins fired. That was the clear cut. Everything on social media was Johnny Dawkins needs to be fired. This is a travesty of a season. And I don't necessarily disagree how disappointing of a season this is. It started off so promising. I mean, we posted an episode right after the double overtime Memphis win about just how insane and how big of a win that was for the program and how this season looked like it was going to be a special season. Obviously, the tide turned pretty quickly after that, where you lose to Tulane, and then it kind of just went downhill with a bunch of other losses. Granted, they've had, if you look at kind of the losses, I think it's 5 games that were decided by 1 bucket. So that's a heartbreaker. But before I get into it, drop down below in the comment section. Do you think Johnny Dawkins should be fired? And if so, who should replace him? And these are my thoughts. Okay, so obviously Johnny Dawkins, very well respected head coach, played at Duke under Coach K and went to the NBA. Coached at Stanford, and then came to UCF. He's been at UCF for many seasons, and let's just go through his track record. So he is 127 and 84 at UCF. Okay, as a head coach, he's 127 and 84. In his seasons at UCF, these were his records. In his first season, 24 and 12. In his second season, 19 and 13. In his third season, 24 and 9. That was the NCAA tourney visit with Taco Fall, all those boys, Aubrey Dawkins. That was that year. 16 and 14 in his fourth year. 11 and 12 in his fifth, and that was the COVID year. So you can kind of scratch that year. 18 and 12, and then now 15 and 12. So I think a lot of UCF fans, I can understand the frustration, is after that NCAA, tournament where you get out of the first round, and then you almost beat Duke, right? A lot of fans assume, listen, UCF's going to take that next jump. UCF, we're expecting at least to have a chance at the tournament every time. Now, Houston became a very prominent basketball program. Memphis added Penny Hardaway, which over the last however many years has really improved that program to where they've been kind of the top dogs. And UCF has kind of taken that third, fourth, fifth spot among other schools where they've been trying to build through, obviously trying to get those freshmen and getting freshmen to sign, but also really building their team through the transfer portal. This season is probably the most transfers on the basketball team in a while. I mean, like I've said it before, our team is consistent of pretty much all transfers. All of the guys making an impact this year transferred in from another school. So that's where this kind of, it was looking really good at the beginning. I said that. You're the best recruit in your program's history in Taylor Hendricks. Now looking like he's probably going to be a top 15 pick in the NBA draft, right? Usually teams that get that type of player, right, are either clear-cut tournament teams or they are really good teams and barely miss it, right? And I do think this team is a good team. And some people disagree with me. Again, I'd love for you to drop it down in the comments below if you agree with me or not. I think our basketball team is a good team. The problem is they have glaring weaknesses. Rebounding is one of the big things. Now, Michael Durr, he was out for a while, right? He was out for a good chunk of weeks. That really hurt the team in the sense of rebounding, defense in the paint, and that was a big loss. So you didn't really have a lot of rebounders, and that really hurt. But rebounding has continued to be a problem. And then you have the added benefit of lack of scoring. UCF's defense is really great, but their scoring is abysmal at times. They try to move the ball as much as possible, but it's a lot of ISO ball at sometimes. CJ Kelly, though the ISO works, sometimes it gets too reliant when they need a bucket, and it kind of stops them from moving the ball. So a lot of fans, and rightfully so, I get it. There's frustration. Every time after a bad loss, I see Johnny Dawkins needs to be fired. But then after a big win, everybody's praising Johnny and or Coach Dawkins, and everybody's saying, oh, see all the people that wanted him fired. This is why I'm going to disagree with everybody saying that Johnny Dawkins needs to be fired. Do things need to get better? Absolutely. Absolutely. Listen, I've said it. At the end of the day, our basketball team is going to be bad for the next couple of years. There's nothing you could do to fix it. It's different. Basketball and football are different. Now, I know we are mainly a football channel, but for those that are actually watching and are trying to learn some more about our basketball team, I appreciate that. The guys deserve it. But in college basketball, it is very hard to build a team through transfers. And that's just honest. You really want to try and build your team through freshmen. And the freshmen that are really good are going to go to the NBA or whatever. And then the freshmen that, aren't good enough to go to the NBA, they stick around. They play there 4 years, right? And you build through that. The problem with UCF is it seems like they haven't built like that. They've kind of built the majority of the roster through getting transfers every year to replace some of the needs that they were missing. Darren Green Jr. is a good example. He was one of those cornerstones for the Knights that stayed for his entire, kind of college run, and then he transfers for his last year to Florida State. That's how you build a program. Unfortunately, the way that this team is built, they had to build chemistry because it's a bunch of transfers around each other, but you have your cornerstone freshmen who everybody, and I think, listen, at the end of the day, I think that's why Johnny Dawkins did it. At the end of the day, he's like, listen, we've got a stud at freshman. if we can go get some really talented transfer players that we can build around him, we can make something. And early on, it showed. Like, that's what I'm saying. A lot of people disregard this team and say this team isn't good. This team is good when they play to their strengths. And this team is really good when they put defense first and let defense fuel their offense. This team is never out of games. They were down 14 to USF in the second half, came all the way back. And if they just had a little bit more offense in the last 5 minutes, they could have done something. I mean, they held, I think, USF in the last 7 minutes. 5 of those minutes, they were held without a field goal. Now, the negative was both teams were in the bonus, and it got into the double bonus pretty quickly, so that really hurt them. The problem is it seems like Coach Dawkins has kind of gotten to a point with maybe just this roster where there's not much you can do. You know what you are at this point. It seems like all of the stuff at the beginning of the year where they were doing so good, it's kind of hit a wall where guys know what they are. They're doing their best, but after a while, it kind of wears on you. Coach Dawkins is 127-84 at UCF. And I've said that on this pod just a couple minutes ago. And I get frustration builds angst. We want this team to be great. We want this team to be good. We all know where they're going next season. They're going to the best conference in college basketball. And I think people need to understand, and the people that are asking for Coach Dawkins to be fired, I ask you a question. And I saw a lot of people on Twitter saying this, and I appreciate those people that brought this up. Who would you hire to replace Coach Dawkins? Who would you hire? See, in college football, right, there's a lot of quality candidates, a lot of quality people that you can say, okay, that's a guy that he's going to be a head coach. College basketball is much different. It is hard to find a quality college basketball coach, right? UCF got lucky getting Coach Dawkins to come here, right? Came here, previously coached at Stanford, came here, had immediate success because he is respected. He has great character. He is a hell of a coach. He can recruit. We've had some of the best classes with him being here. How do you replace that? Who are you going to find that is going to give you that? You can't. You can't. And that's okay. At the end of the day, take out the COVID year, and Johnny Dawkins at UCF has not had a losing season. You're not going to find a more respected head coach for the fans and his players. The players respect Coach Dawkins. At the end of the day, if you look at his track record, he has a great track record of developing players and getting players to play the right way. At the end of the day, Taylor Hendricks has gone from a late round first round pick to a very early first round pick. Now, I don't know. I don't know if you put Taylor Hendricks on a better team, if that alters it, if he gets, either higher or lower. I don't know. But I will say, in Johnny Dawkins' system and the way he runs it, I think Taylor does a great job of playing without the basketball and taking his opportunities when he can. And some people can get mad at Coach Dawkins for that, but I think it really shows that this is a very good system that Taylor can show the type of basketball player that he is. Who are you going to hire? Who's going to be better in recruiting? How do you bring UCF to the top of the Big 12? It's going to take a long, long time. It's going to take a while. It's going to take a lot of work, a lot of patience, and UCF fans have to understand where we're going. I think to a degree they do, and that's why they want it. They're like, oh my gosh, we're not winning the American. We're losing games in the American. The basketball team is going to struggle. Now, why I think UCF can really make an impact quickly. And by quickly, I say a couple years. Again, recruiting is king. The reason why these Big 12 schools are so great is because they recruit well, they keep their players are not transferring out, and they develop them in a great way. UCF is in a prime recruiting spot, especially for basketball players. Florida is a great basketball state. There's a lot of great players here. Now, we've gone out and recruited players from out of state. But if this team wants to be successful in the Big 12, I think Johnny Dawkins is the guy for that. The university has to put more into the program. I think it is all football, and that's great, and I understand that. And football is king. If you want the basketball team to be successful, you got to invest more into the program. Fans, if you want the basketball team to be good, show up to the games. Nobody shows up to basketball games. You want recruits, just like football, to say, I want to go play basketball at UCF? Show up to the games. And that's students and non-students. Everybody needs to show up. I think for the crowd that is Fire Dawkins, I don't think you're ever going to go away. But I think what you have to understand is show me 5 candidates that you think would do better than Johnny Dawkins, and not just at wins, because winning is one thing. Recruiting, continued success, development. Show me a coach that can do all of that right now, and then you could change my mind. But right now, I don't think there's any reason. You need stability heading into the Big 12. You need that stability. And right now, unfortunately, if you fire Johnny Dawkins, there will be no stability. You'll lose all your players. Great example, but different, okay? Women's basketball. Coach leaves last season after one of the best year in UCF women's basketball history. She heads to Georgia. Your best player heads to Georgia. A lot of your players get up and leave. What is our women's basketball team doing now? Replace the coach. The coach has to replace the entire roster. And it's a struggle. And it's going to take years until that team is good again. So you fire Coach Dawkins and see what happens. You think it's bad now? Just you wait. Well, guys, that's it. That's it for today. Not much UCF news in general. Hopefully next week we got a little bit more information, maybe some spring ball action, because spring ball is starting here in less than a month. We've got a lot of stuff with the expansion rumors and stuff like that. But hopefully a lot more next week, but figured this would be a great conversation starter. And again, like I said, it's not just me talking. Please put it down in the comments and let us know what your thoughts. Do you think Johnny Dawkins should be fired, or do you think we should keep him as the head coach of the men's basketball team? Thank you all, as always, for tuning into Charge On. And please subscribe, like, share. Follow me on Twitter at Sean MR Green. Do all of those good things. We really appreciate all the support. And like I said, this has been Charge On, presented by Bet Online. We will see you next week.